In the 11th year of their marriage, Ethan was lying on the bed with his childhood sweetheart, Sophia. After Evelyn woke Ethan up, he appeared extremely impatient. Evelyn was drunk. Nothing had happened between them. If anything was going to happen between Ethan and Evelyn, it would have happened long ago. "What's it got to do with you?" Evelyn replied. "It doesn't matter," Ethan responded. In the past, Evelyn would surely have gone hysterical, questioning Ethan frantically until he made a promise, causing everyone unhappiness. But this time, Evelyn really seemed not to care anymore. Evelyn stood silently at the door, looking at Ethan and Sophia lying on the bed, under the same quilt. In the living room, Grace was sitting on the sofa, cracking melon seeds. Yet, Grace's eyes were glancing over with a gloating look. Evelyn knew Grace did it on purpose. Grace was waiting for Evelyn to lose her temper, to make a big scene, and for Evelyn to completely fall out with her husband, Ethan. Ethan and Evelyn had fallen in love freely, and it had been 11 years since they got married. After their marriage, they also experienced a very sweet period. However, in recent years, Ethan and Evelyn had been quarreling more and more frequently, almost having a small quarrel every 3 days and a big one every 5 days. Most of the time, the conflicts arose because of Sophia, Ethan's childhood sweetheart. It seemed that Ethan and Sophia would never learn to keep an appropriate distance from each other. Why? Grace, Evelyn's mother-in-law, was quite happy to see this happen. In recent years, Grace had often been saying that Sophia was the daughter-in-law she had always dreamed of, and she even helped create opportunities for Sophia to be with Ethan. At first, Ethan would directly oppose what Grace did. Because of this, Ethan and Evelyn quarreled, and most of the time, Ethan was the first to apologize and promise to be more careful in the future. Out of love, Evelyn believed him. However, the next time, it would still be the same, repeating over and over again. Gradually, Ethan lost his patience. His explanations began to be perfunctory, and he even roared at Evelyn impatiently, asking her to be more rational. But whenever this happened, Evelyn couldn't be rational at all. As long as Evelyn thought that something might have happened between Ethan and Sophia, Evelyn couldn't control her emotions and would make a big fuss, like a mad woman. Their feelings also faded away in the quarrels, time and time again. Evelyn knew that her relationship with Ethan was getting more and more distant. Evelyn also knew that Grace did it on purpose, just trying to drive Evelyn crazy. But this time, Evelyn didn't do as they wished. Evelyn stood at the door, looking for a while, then walked forward and calmly woke Ethan up. "Can't you just let me sleep a little longer? Do you know how tired I am from work and socializing?" He looked a bit impatient but froze when he caught sight of Sophia lying beside him. However, that daze only lasted a moment, then he explained casually. If that could be called an explanation. "I had lunch with Sophia's father and the others at noon and drank a lot of wine. Sophia must have gone into the wrong room. Nothing happened between us. Oh, I didn't say anything and turned around to pick up the vegetables that had fallen at the door." What does this mean? Is Evelyn giving Ethan the cold shoulder again? Ethan became even angrier. "I've already said that there's nothing between Sophia and me. There's just a brother-sister bond between us. Can't you stop giving me the cold shoulder just because of this? You know that we grew up together. If there had been anything between us, we would have been together long ago, and it wouldn't have been your turn at all." It was the same old cliché every time. Ethan caught himself being intimate with Sophia. Ethan repeated the same phrases over and over again. It was as if Evelyn was truly being unreasonable. At first, Evelyn reflected on herself, wondering if she was indeed too sensitive. Evelyn told herself to be magnanimous, and when uncomfortable feelings arose, Evelyn only dared to retreat to her room and shed tears. Grief accompanied Evelyn, but gradually, the situation escalated. On this particular day, Ethan and Sophia even slept on Evelyn's bed, as if there was nobody else around. Time after time, tolerance did not yield a better outcome. Hearing the same explanation again, Evelyn felt nothing but endless annoyance in her heart. Evelyn picked up the vegetables and turned around to ask Ethan calmly, "Then, can you tell me why Sophia is already 28 years old but still not married and keeps hovering around you, a man who has a wife and children? Doesn't she have her own home, her own life?" Ethan opened and closed his mouth, speechless. Evelyn looked at Ethan silently and smiled sarcastically. Perhaps stimulated by Evelyn's smile, or maybe speaking his mind, Ethan subconsciously raised his voice and roared, "What do you know? Sophia is different from you. Daughters from good families do not have to worry about getting married. Sophia's father and mother love Sophia very much. They will not easily marry Sophia off like a commodity. They will consider many factors when choosing a partner for Sophia, and Sophia herself has the resources to choose slowly. Sophia possesses an excellent education, an outstanding family background, broad horizons, and doting parents. Sophia does not have to rush to get married. Sophia can do whatever she wants. Additionally, most people in their social circle marry later. There are plenty of people who aren't married even in their early 30s. Only people from the countryside." As Ethan was speaking, he suddenly realized something and became speechless. "Only Evelyn, a girl from the countryside, doesn't have the right to choose and can only attach herself to me without dignity. Even when my own wife is lying on the same bed with another woman, I can't say anything. Right?" Evelyn picked up on Ethan's words and continued to ask. Although Evelyn had told herself to stay calm long ago, her heart still unavoidably ached when she heard Ethan say that. Evelyn had always thought that Ethan was different from the others in his family, that he understood her. But it turned out that Evelyn had thought too much. Sophia and Evelyn were indeed different. Sophia was a young lady from an excellent family background and graduated from a prestigious university, while Evelyn was just a girl who escaped from a small mountain village. Evelyn hadn't even gone to college and was almost sold by her parents to exchange for betrothal gifts for her younger brother. Evelyn had always known that she and Sophia were different, but Ethan had never looked down on her. Ethan had always thought of Evelyn in a certain way, and she had mistakenly believed that his actions were expressions of care and respect. No longer. Evelyn wiped away her tears, glanced at Sophia, who was pretending to be asleep on the bed, and rushed out the door. "Ethan, that's not what I meant." Ethan subconsciously took a few steps forward, but soon there came a loud bang of the door closing behind Evelyn, accompanied by Grace's angry dissuasion, "Don't go. If she has the guts to run away from home, then she should have the guts not to come back." Then it became quiet behind Evelyn. Evelyn wasn't surprised. Ethan had always seemed to listen to Grace. All the neighbors said that Ethan was a filial person. Undoubtedly, Ethan liked Evelyn, but once this affection conflicted with his filial piety, Evelyn was the one who could be put aside. Walking aimlessly on the street, Evelyn didn't know where to go. In the first year of Ethan and Evelyn's marriage, after Evelyn got pregnant with Julian, Evelyn quit her job at Grace's strong request. In Ethan's family, since then, all the trivial household chores had fallen on Evelyn. A year later, Evelyn gave birth to Julian. After finishing her maternity leave, Evelyn was ready to look for a job again, but Grace, her mother-in-law, said that Julian was too young to be away from Evelyn and that the family had already gotten used to the meals Evelyn cooked. And so, Evelyn had been a housewife for 11 whole years. From the moment Evelyn opened her eyes in the morning until she went to bed at night, Evelyn was always busy. However, Grace always thought that Evelyn had an easy life and that Ethan was wronged by being with Evelyn. Whenever Grace had a conflict with her mother-in-law, Ethan always advised Evelyn to give in to Grace, saying that it hadn't been easy for Grace to give birth to and raise him. Gradually, Evelyn gave in to everyone in the family, but she forgot about herself. Even when they quarreled, Evelyn only dared to cry in her room when no one was around, and only after she had finished all her chores. Evelyn tried her best to be understanding towards everyone in the family, but no one understood her. Just because Ethan mentioned the previous night that he wanted to eat fresh wild fish, Evelyn got up early that morning. Evelyn took the bus and went to a suburban farm dozens of miles away to buy fresh wild fish. However, when Evelyn returned home, what awaited Evelyn were Ethan's betrayal and Grace's gloating eyes. After having wronged herself for so long, this time Evelyn didn't want to consider anyone else anymore. Evelyn wanted to be a bit willful. Evelyn ignored Ethan's phone calls, turned off her mobile phone directly, and took the bus to a nearby cinema. A movie adapted from a novel that Evelyn liked very much had been released a while ago. Evelyn had wanted to watch it for a long time. Evelyn had also mentioned it to Ethan before, when Evelyn was talking about it. Grace heard it and said that they were an old married couple and there was no need to be so fussy at that time. Ethan comforted Evelyn behind Grace's back and said that he would take Evelyn to watch it when he was free. Evelyn was quite happy at that time, but Ethan was always so busy that even though the movie had been released for over a month, Ethan still hadn't had time to accompany Evelyn to watch it. Now that Evelyn thought about it, the last time Evelyn watched a movie with Ethan was actually 6 years ago. Later, every appointment that Evelyn and Ethan made seemed to be put on hold for various reasons. Following the bus route, it took less than half an hour for Evelyn to reach the cinema. Only then did Evelyn realize that the cinema was so close to home and that watching a movie wasn't such a troublesome thing. Unfortunately, the movie that Evelyn wanted to watch had already been taken off the screen. It would have been great if Ethan had come 2 days earlier. It was taken off the screen this Monday. The ticket seller looked rather regretful. Evelyn stood there slightly stunned for a while after that. Evelyn chose a movie recommended by the ticket seller. It was a fantasy movie and quite interesting. While drinking sweet milk tea and enjoying the good plot, time passed quickly, and the bitterness in Evelyn's heart seemed to be forgotten for a short while. Evelyn just realized that watching a movie alone could also be very pleasant. After the movie ended, Evelyn turned on her phone. There were several missed calls and unread messages, all from Ethan. "Evelyn, I'm sorry." Ethan expressed that he had just lost his temper and said things he didn't mean. However, Ethan clarified that his feelings had not changed. Ethan assured Evelyn that he had always liked her. Ethan swore that there was only a brother-sister relationship with Sophia. Ethan promised that nothing had happened between Sophia and him just moments ago. Ethan explained that he had been sleeping too soundly and hadn't noticed anything. Ethan offered an apology to Evelyn, stating that in the future, he would keep a distance from all members of the opposite sex after drinking. Ethan's tone conveyed sincerity, but Evelyn felt nothing in her heart. There was no other reason. There had been too many similar apologies and promises before, in the past. Every time, Evelyn would be soft-hearted and would take the opportunity Ethan and Sophia gave to smooth things over. Now, looking back, Evelyn just felt that everything was so dull. Evelyn could even imagine the scene at home now. Ethan was sitting on the sofa with a furrowed brow, calling Evelyn or sending her a message at intervals. Sophia was sitting aside, sobbing softly, apologizing for her carelessness. Grace was comforting Sophia while criticizing Evelyn's behavior with disgust in her eyes. In Grace's eyes, Evelyn had nowhere to go except their home, so Evelyn would definitely bow her head. This was Grace's experience in controlling Evelyn countless times, but this time, Evelyn didn't want to be like that anymore. Evelyn turned on her phone. There was still a balance of 4,765 yuan in it. Robert, Evelyn's father-in-law, had opened a company, so the family was quite wealthy, but the financial power had always been in Grace's hands. Every month, Evelyn had to ask Grace for the money for buying groceries and living expenses. Evelyn never had any extra money. The over 4,000 yuan was saved by Evelyn from doing part-time jobs from time to time, without telling her family. Evelyn wasn't qualified for good jobs, and Grace thought that bad jobs were not presentable and would disgrace Ethan's family, let alone temporary jobs. Evelyn had saved this money with great difficulty, but now Evelyn was extremely grateful to herself at that time, which gave Evelyn a bit of courage to be out and about so that Evelyn wouldn't end up on the streets. Evelyn searched online for a while and booked a small hotel with a relatively high cost-performance ratio. I planned to stay outside for a few days to calm down and think about what to do next. After I turned off my phone, Ethan didn't call again. It wasn't until evening that he sent another message, "Evelyn, where are you? I'll come to pick you up. It's not safe for you to be outside alone at night." I knew that this was another opportunity he offered to make up. I should have been sensible and taken it, accepted Ethan's apology, gone back home, endured my mother-in-law's nagging, reintegrated into the family, and then started a new day, taking care of my son, Julian, Ethan, my mother-in-law, and even serving Sophia. However, Evelyn did not want to. Evelyn chose not to reply and lay on the bed in the hotel, aimlessly browsing web pages. Evelyn thought that falling asleep in a strange place would be impossible. Unexpectedly, while browsing, Evelyn lost consciousness without realizing it. Evelyn woke up a little after 6 o'clock the next morning. Usually, at this time, Evelyn would get up to make breakfast for Julian. Over time, Evelyn had gotten used to waking up at this hour, even without an alarm clock. It was a rare opportunity to go back to sleep. Unfortunately, Evelyn could not fall asleep, so Evelyn simply went for a stroll in the park near the hotel. The sun had just risen against the backdrop of the dew. The leaves appeared extraordinarily green, and the flowers were especially bright. Even the elderly individuals performing morning exercises in the distance looked particularly elegant as they practiced Tai Chi. Everything seemed so beautiful that it involuntarily lifted Evelyn's spirits. Time passed slowly for Evelyn. She realized that a day could feel so long when she had nothing to do. Suddenly, Evelyn remembered that it seemed she hadn't paid attention to the details of life for a long time. The Evelyn who bravely escaped from home didn't know when she disappeared. Daily necessities had occupied Evelyn's whole life. Evelyn was so tired that Evelyn didn't have the energy or the mood to observe these things. But when Evelyn escaped back then, Evelyn clearly had in mind that she wanted to strive to live a free life and not let anyone have the right to dominate her. But why did Evelyn end up changing herself beyond recognition in the end? No, 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 it shouldn't be like this.